You're listening to DraftKings Network.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. If you're a smoker or dipper looking to make a change, you really only need one reason to do it. But with Zyn nicotine pouches, you can find many. Zyn is America's #1 nicotine pouch. It's made with only 6 simple ingredients. There are lots of options when it comes to nicotine satisfaction, but there's only one Zyn. Learn more about Zyn and find your reason to make a change by registering online at Zyn.com.
Smirnoff knows there's no I in football. Football is a we thing, an experience that is best enjoyed together with good drinks and good people. Smirnoff is the world's #1 vodka and is an official vodka partner of the NFL. And this year, Smirnoff is giving fans in select areas of the country a chance to win the ultimate game day experience. From tickets to sideline passes and much more, just head to WeDoGameDays.com until November 15, 2024 to enter for your chance to win. That's WeDoGameDays.com. Smirnoff, we do game days.
Please drink responsibly. Smirnoff number 21 vodka, distilled from grain, 40% alcohol by volume. The Smirnoff Company, New York, New York. Please do not share with anyone under legal drinking age. No purchase necessary. 21 plus. Ends November 15, 2024. See rules at website for participating area and other important details. Sponsored by Diageo Americas Inc., New York, New York.
Shadow Show.
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 Shadow in it.
I don't know how Amin actually experienced this because I imagine that on Thursdays he's watching basketball. But when I walked into the show today, I mean, I don't even know if you were here, but I was surprised by this. It was Jeremy, Tony, Roy, and Chris. And I'm watching a group of producers, and I'm like, so that's what gets them all to care about sports. A Jets-Texans game last night. Really, a Jets-Texans game. So look at how they argue and they fight and they deeply care about the Jets pass rush and what Hassan Reddick did. I'm like, so that's what it takes, a Thursday night football game that gets the Jets to 3-6 to second place in the standings.
These guys are trying to blame C.J. Stroud. That was such a game of just aggressive line play. That first half was one of the weirdest halves I've ever seen. Move the ball, move the ball, move the ball. Turnover. Move the ball, move the ball, move the ball. Turnover. Sack, sack. The Dolphins, 9 sacks on the season. Guess how many sacks the Jets had last night?
8, yeah.
8. That was that's not on C.J. Stroud.
Horrible.
This was like he could not breathe last night.
And it also goes to show you when you have your #1 receiver who is once your #3 receiver, and you have like Robert Woods and John Mechie out there trying to catch passes. Xavier Hutchinson trying to catch passes. Like, who do you throw to?
That's what I'm dealing with, Dan. They're trying to make excuses for C.J. Stroud.
I'm not making excuses.
Had nothing to do with the receivers.
That's not an excuse.
He couldn't breathe last night.
Why is that?
That's also offensive line problems and good defensive line for the Jets. It was just, what a crazy game. That game last night, the clash between the lines, every play, both sides of the ball, was great last night. Just the trenches. Last night was a game for the trenches.
I mean,
you're right. They do care.
I couldn't believe it. I was so very confused. And one of the reasons I'm confused is because our analysis in that sport, for all we talk about, is quarterback good if he win. Like like we can say what we want, but what last night revealed is, the defensive line that Aaron Rodgers was going to make a champion, that's what it looks like when it renders C.J. Stroud useless because half the season has eaten up his entire receiving core. And furthermore, when we saw him be good, he had those receivers. And now we're all like, Nico Collins, pretty important, giant #1 receiver.
I don't think it's that complicated. I think you're trying to look too deep. It's simple what's going on here. Sophomore slump. Mm-hmm. It's just what happens with quarterbacks. It was predictable. I think anyone could see it happening. Sophomore slump.
And sophomores. It happens with sophomores too.
Billy, you are kicking ass with God Bless Football. I saw you just come in here with it under your right arm because you were in a very important meeting. You were not even in the place I was in the eating area where all of these guys could not have cared more about anything in sports than the 3-6 Jets. It was so strange.
They could go on
to
a
me.
run, Dan.
That's the
they
point.
could
See that schedule?
go
It's
on a
hope,
run.
Dan. That's what you're missing. You're thinking it's 3-6 Jets. No, we're seeing there's a glimmer of hope in New York. All of a sudden, what if Aaron Rodgers, cayenne pepper water and all, turns the tide on this season? They're second place in the AFC East right now.
118 rating yesterday. Now he faces the Cardinals. The Cardinals have a bottom of the league pass defense. Like, don't let him get hot, because then you go to the Colts and Flacco right now is the quarterback, so you don't want to see that situation. It's the rare situation where you don't want to face the backup. You'd rather face the starter. But now he's the starter, and is Flacco going to be able to carry the weight of the world on his shoulders as a starter? It's easy when you're second fiddle. You come in and you play the song, and people are just happy to see the fiddler. But now that you're the first fiddler, do we want the second fiddler?
Billy, do you realize that one of the things God Bless Football has done to you, not unlike what it did, First Take did to Max Kellerman and Stephen A. Smith, is your takes are now twice as long on football as they used to be.
Got to fill.
All of them.
Got to fill. We started the Shadow Show early.
Yeah, we
got to
did.
stretch.
Got
to stretch and get us to that 9 o'clock hour. So I'm here. I'm just trying to fill. I'll give you.
I don't need
you want
you
a minute?
fill.
I'll give you 2.5. Let's get there.
No, I want a minute. No.
We're normally starting now. We started early today, so I'm just trying to get us there.
What I want.
Stretch.
No, what I want from you is please give me 15 seconds instead of 115.
Don't even get him started on the Garrett Wilson catch.
Don't I know it, by the way? That's been my life the last 2 days. It's like, hey, can you record this for the oral history? And then it's like, hey, can you record what you did but shorter? And it's like, okay, well, I guess. I mean, just tell me what you want me to say. I mean, you're asking me my experience here. I'm giving it to you. And if you want someone else's experience, don't ask me.
Short oral history, apparently.
No, I do.
Short oral history.
So what's happening? Are people getting cut out of the oral history?
I don't know, man. I got a text and it just said answer these 2 questions. It wasn't even an interview, technically. And I was like, okay. And then it's like, hey, that was nice, just a little too long. I was like, okay. So I did it short. I'm like, oh, a little too short. A little in between here. And I'm like, okay, fine, whatever you want.
Wait a sec. There was no prompt, like a person saying, hey, Billy, tell us about this. It was a text message?
We don't need to get into nitty gritty.
Well, we're already there.
Well, I was
Billy,
here.
Billy,
I was
you
here
did this.
the other day.
Don't pretend like someone other than you just did this.
Wait. Thank you. Finally, someone
he's a victim, Dan.
Someone gets it, finally.
He's been part of the show for a long-ass time, and then he gets 2 text messages, hey, talking to your phone about something that happened 15 years ago.
Well, because truth be told, I was here, and then Dan and Stugotz took like 4 hours recording. And I was like, well, 2 questions. I've already been waiting for 2 hours. I went through an entire planning meeting for an hour, and I was like, my children need to get picked up from school. If not, I don't know the practice of not picking up your children. I imagine they just let them out into the streets like feral cats, and I can't have my children running around like feral cats. They don't know how to find food and fend for themselves. They're still babies. Babies aren't that smart. I don't know if you know this. They can't figure out how to feed themselves. So if they're running around, they don't know where they live. They're not going to find their way back home. I mean, you're running around lost. We didn't even put their collars on them. No one's going to know where they belong.
What will a school do if I just don't show up?
I'm telling you.
Call the cops?
I think they just let them out in the street like cats.
They put a padlock on the door.
Yeah. I mean, there's no policy that says it in writing. They're not going to tell you up front. We just let them run around with the cats, but I imagine that's what happens. How did cats get there? I imagine the cat parents don't pick them up from the cat school on time.
I want to follow what Amin said. So they leave them in the school, lock the door so they can't get out, and just like you can get them tomorrow?
Oh, it's like that Target movie, Career Opportunities. Remember that one?
No.
You guys don't remember Career Opportunities? Dan, you remember Career Opportunities, right?
I'm thinking about ending yours.
Stretch.
God bless football.
The thing that I find funny about what's happening around here, Amin, is that we've got an oral history that is very popular. We've got another episode that is out today. Mike Ryan is calling it the spiciest one yet. I have noticed that in the first bits of this oral history, I have heard from none of the voices in this room. It's a Mike Ryan project, and what you guys are now accusing Mike Ryan of is just grabbing work parts without doing the interview or research. You're accusing Mike Ryan of...
For the record, I didn't say that because I suspect what's coming on later is someone getting mad at me for something I allegedly did or said, and shenanigans.
Right. I can't relate to that at all.
I put my card down. I have played my shenanigans card because I saw Bobby Q was a little peeved yesterday, and I assume that's coming up at some point. So I'm going to plop down my shenanigans card right now before we even get to it. I'm putting the shenanigans card down right now.
Billy, Bobby
shenanigans.
Bobby Q
I play the shenanigans card. You can't. Do you have a reverse? You don't have a reverse card. You can't play it. Sorry, buddy.
What
about skip shenanigans?
Bobby Q is so mad at you.
Well,
off air, you should hear what he says.
Off air.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
Today's episode is sponsored by DraftKings. Stay tuned because you'll hear more about DraftKings and all it has to offer throughout the show. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
I mean, because of the general daily shenanigans around here, we didn't have time yesterday to get to Karl Anthony Towns going for 44 against the Miami Heat. And you are an exceptional national basketball voice that, I want your thoughts on that, but the general shenanigans of what we've got around here, I still want your thoughts on how you feel when you see break out around you a conversation about football where these guys can't stop talking about every permutation of Jets-Texans, including whether or not one of the greatest catches you've ever seen was actually in bounds or not. They could not stop talking about Jets-Texans, and I don't know, last night was not an interesting basketball night. Basketball's numbers are down. I think people are realizing the regular season doesn't mean a whole lot.
Dan, and you say that John Morant and them boys slapped up the Bucks in a big game, a statement game for the West and the East. You think we're not locked in on sports, Dan?
Well, I want to talk to Amin about the Bucks because they looked confused, and Doc Rivers, that's a mess, man. Like, it's been a mess for a minute. Them falling behind the Celtics that way, like that, happened awfully fast, and it happened on Doc Rivers' watch after trading for Damian Lillard. But the problem is I can't get the rest of the group engaged where Amin is because Billy won't shut up about what's a catch and what's not a catch and 1 foot in and one ass cheek in. What? Was it a catch or was it not a catch?
It was ruled a catch, but I don't know.
Guys, it's clear. There was a shin down here. With Pickens, there wasn't a shin down. That's the difference.
No.
It's so clear. It couldn't be more clear.
Yeah, but here's the thing about the feet situation, right? Like, if the heel of your foot lands in and then the tip of your foot rolls out, then you're ruled out of bounds. But if your shin rolls in and your leg continues to move and then your knee hits out, your shin is in. I don't know what a football catch is because, the George Pickens thing looked like more of a catch. And then I feel like there was an outrage, and then there was we can't have something like that again. And Garrett Wilson made one of the greatest plays that I've ever seen. Well, I don't know about an SB.
SB nominee. Play of the year.
Play of the year?
Odell Beckham was nominated. Is that not on the Odell Beckham level of play right there?
No.
Slightly lower on the scale,
Well, wait a minute. A football thrown twice as far. Look, I've seen what I have seen from the receivers in this league that make me think that Garrett Wilson is an actual number one is that somehow that guy with one hand can catch a ball falling out of bounds and the ball doesn't move. The ball you've seen this from some receivers in the league right now. Amari Cooper's exceptional at it. Ball against helmet, ball's not moving as you slide 10 yards out of bounds and they call it a catch because with one hand, because you've got a talon that can grab a ball with one hand because of what human evolution is. But Odell Beckham's catch was better than that one. Billy doesn't even think this was a catch.
No, well, I said I think that it was a great play. It was ruled a catch. I'm not sure. Now, I think I have a solution that I'd like to run by you guys, and this is, I want to call it the clock system, right? And I've just come up with this system right now, so granted it's a little rusty. Are we going to say that your actual arm is the little hand, and then your leg is the long hand of the clock, right?
What?
Because when we're doing this, I want to say Odell Beckham, depending on the angle that you look at, his catch was a 230. You know what I mean? His little arm was way back here at 2, and his leg was down at 30, but almost back. It was because it's coming this way, so it's almost like a 225. This is what we're looking at here, a 225 on the clock scale, right? Garrett Wilson
did the Jordan thing.
We're looking at a 1230 at best. 225, way better than 1230. 1230 is almost like a straight line. 225, you're way back like this. That's a better catch on the clock scale.
Yeah. Am I looking at this wrong? Because I'm looking at Odell Beckham and I'm saying that's 935.
It does look like 935.
Well, you're looking at the reverse angle.
And you're looking at the arm, the wrong arm. You got to look at the other
reverse angle, yeah. You know how it's the camera angle, then you're looking at, so if you're, as a broadcaster, if you're looking at it from one side of the field, you say left to right. Oh, I love that. But if someone's on the TV side, for example, and that's the opposite side of the field, you say right to left. Right. So here's the thing. Some people have a completely inverse memory of great moments in sporting history based on how they're watching it. Same thing in baseball. If you're watching from the outfield, it's like, oh my God, I saw the ball flying. It was coming right at me. It's like, no, I saw the ball flying away from me. Wild.
So the people who were at Game 1 of the World Series saw Freddie Freeman's teeth, whereas I saw the back of his head.
Yeah. But anyways, the catch,
just like that.
What you were saying, incredible play. I have no idea if it was a catch or not, but I feel like after Sunday with George Pickens, the NFL was kind of like, we can't have another debate about this. That's a catch.
The question that the NFL has to answer, and I'll bring my knee up for this.
Oh.
Where does the knee end and the shin start? Well, that's what we're arguing here.
Pretty obvious right there.
That's the thing. Like that. What's that middle portion?
What is this?
That's a good question.
That's your shin right there.
What is this?
I gotta feel it.
For the audio audience, I'm pointing at a spot on my knee.
A lot of freckles.
Just below.
It's good video
just below
work.
the knee.
Look.
Well, you just said you're pointing at your knee, so I think you've classified that as your knee.
I said just below the knee, so it's the shin. Damn it.
Yeah, it is a confusing question that Chris is asking. The whole point of this video is to get the joke of the freckles. It's a lot of freckles.
That was not the joke.
I thought that's all we were going for.
You still think it's fine shaming freckles. You always have.
Chris, I've never seen that many freckles on that small of a surface area of human body in my life.
Hey, relax yourself.
I'm just saying.
It's a big surface area. Hey. Wait, you talking about my knee?
Yes.
Oh.
Are you bragging about having fat knees? What's going on here?
Fees.
Put it on the poll. Has cancel culture made it impossible now to make fun of freckles?
For Dan.
Because
looks like a leopard.
I thought the whole video joke we were going for there is, wow, that's 100 dots racing each other across his pale leg to get to what he's identifying as maybe his knee or below the knee. I just want to go back for a second, though, because we do analyze every microscopic portion of this game. Billy didn't realize as he was doing this, because Billy's chasing around kids and may not have noticed some of the places where he ages out. There's a whole bunch of people listening right now who have never seen a clock the way that you're describing that.
Yeah, that's right. Kids in school right now.
Is that so?
They're not taught an actual clock. They use a digital clock.
Hold on. They still got a clock in the center of the room.
But no one's teaching them how to use it.
No, they know.
That's just a decoration.
I mean, you're waving me off. What do you mean?
Decoration.
Tony, I'm telling you, these classrooms have digital clocks.
No.
Yep.
They took away the stick clocks?
You could set the face of your your Apple Watch to one of those.
I'm not saying that you can't seek it out and learn it. I'm saying we're not teaching it anymore. The digital clocks are going to rate. There are people listening to you right now that don't know what you're talking about. And I thought it looked like 11:30 on the clock. The Odell Beckham clock is even better than I thought it was. 11:25 is the Beckham clock, and that Beckham catch I'm now seeing in retrospect a good deal better than the one I saw last night.
Wait a second. Are you telling me we're losing recipes? That's what's happening?
We're losing the recipes. Speaking of which, because I did want to get serious for a moment.
Oh, it's fun while it lasted, boys.
Bob Costas was on with us yesterday, and because people don't respect the past and history, Billy Gill most among them.
Falsehoods.
Bob Costas has been a broadcaster who has been the very top of the profession for 40 years, talking about everything from sports to other things, because he could have had all those journalism jobs, all the Nightline, 60 Minutes. He was not just a sports guy. He was somebody who had worldviews for 40 years. He's been good on all subject matter.
I bet you he still has an analog clock.
For sure, in the study.
That's rude.
It's a library.
In the library. He surprised me yesterday when he went after Billy Gill, and now there's genuine feud here because I was really taken aback by this. Billy, I don't know how this information got to you, but he somehow had...
You guys put it on the internet.
No,
tagged me.
We didn't bring you up to him, though. He brought you up to us.
Yeah, so this is the part that I want to set some of this up for a second because I didn't know that I've talked to Bob Costas some, but I did not know that he was the level of angry that he was when he did what he did here, where he was referencing something that I had no idea that how it got back to him, unless it must have been the poll question of that Billy suggested that he used to be Robert Quinlan Costas, and that in grade school he forced the other kids to call him Robert. Robbie Q.
Just a joke.
Bobby Q, I think, in Billy's defense.
Okay. It's just a joke. It's
right.
Not a big deal.
But
you just say a joke and you keep it moving. Exactly.
That's what I've thought how this works, but it doesn't.
But so if that had gotten to him alone, though, he would have no reason to be that mad. It is just a joke. Unless you went back and listened to the show and heard everything you guys were doing around it when you were disrespectful of the entirety of his career. You and Stugotz were.
No. Now I'm piecing together how this went because I don't think that Bob Costas went back to listen to a 4-hour show. I'm thinking Bob Costas saw a poll and sent a little text or a call to his friend Daniel and said, Daniel, what's going on here? What's this poll about? While he was there in his smoking jacket and his pipe, he's like, what's this all about, Daniel? And then you said, oh, Billy and Stugotz spent 4 hours disrespecting your career. And if memory serves, and I'm not in this to get into a back and forth with Bob Costas. I think that we should celebrate his great career today. He announced yesterday that he was retiring. Not on this show. He announced later that he's retiring.
That's the part, Billy, sorry to cut you off. That's the part we should be talking about, is that Bob Costas came on the show.
Friend of the show.
Gave us 25 strong minutes and never once said, by the way, adios. He went on another show to divulge that information. We could have used that.
Well, the point being, I feel like we should be celebrating Bob Costas today, the legendary broadcaster. He's stepping aside, retiring from broadcasting the game. Now, all that we did the day that this, incident occurred was discuss that there was social media reaction to the way the game was being called. That's all we did that day. That's all we said, and then we started going down the path, and then we did his middle name is a Q, it's Quinlan, and then we did the Bobby Q thing, which we've done before, not a big deal. Just a joke. We just joke around.
Okay,
have
it's
fun,
just a joke.
and we keep it moving. And then,
it's just a joke.
The way I experienced it, and granted, I don't want to look. I'm not professionally. It doesn't serve me to be in a war with Bob Costas. I'm not going to get in a war with Bob Costas. That's not what I'm here for. I'm sorry if what I said as a joke landed the wrong way and he got offended by it. However, the point of the joke was that he couldn't take a joke, and then he came on here and got very offended by the joke that we made and quote unquote roasted me. And that's fine, but I would say in my meager defense, I think he proved my point.
Okay, and we will have...
and I'm not getting in a back and forth with him.
More chances for you to continue your feud with Bob Costas that you don't want to have, right? That's not good for you in any way.
No, because Dan, here's the thing. I think that you like this. I think that you like us fighting with luminaries and people of note.
No.
I just will make a joke, and then all of a sudden, let's put it on a billboard. And then if this continues, there's going to be a billboard outside of Bob Costas' house, which I do not want. I didn't want one with Josh Allen. I just, we're like a comedy sports hybrid, like a mishmash. You put us in there, you shake us up, and then...
You never know what's going to come out.
Exactly right. Toss a little lime in there, and you enjoy. Maybe some Smirnoff, whatever your... Pick your poison. Not that Smirnoff's poison. I would not suggest that, so don't even go and then put that... Pick your poison.
Right. You know what?
You enjoy it.
Right.
That's what I like to do. And then you're here, and you're like, let's have everybody fight with each other.
Okay, so...
Like feral cats.
Putting Cuervo
Children
in
who
mine.
have been picked up by their parents.
Okay.
So full circle. Listen to the Shadow Show, people. You'll get it.
All right. You are supposed to be protecting our corporate
I'm
sponsorships. I'm going to have to penalize you for what just happened there. I'm sorry to do this to you. I think you understand what you did wrong there.
I covered
Minor
my tracks.
penalty, 2 minutes, stumbling.
You're going to have to get out of the room there because, yes, you're going to have to leave now. But I'm going to...
Victory lap?
Not a victory lap. You're going to go sit in the penalty box for 2 minutes, even though I need your help here to escalate this to the proper way, because I'm going to throw Meadowlark budget at Billy trying to agitate Bob Costas from the
Oh, my God.
shadows.
We're getting that billboard, huh?
Well, putting up something near Costas' house, but we got to be careful with this because this is an actual dangerous time for Costas to do what he did yesterday bravely, that I have some objection to and the audience does as well. But Bob Costas' ability to do 10 minutes on Trump without a hiccup yesterday, talking about things that a lot of people are talking about, but you're not hearing condensed for you, and that bites by a size away. For that to then become an argument about whether Kamala is center-left or not, as all I saw was a professional broadcaster for 40 years who, St. Louis baseball, conservative America at his core, was trying to get both sides into a reasonable place in the center to discuss what's happening right now. And people drag Costas for saying Kamala's not an ideal candidate. Whatever. He's just trying to get the other side to listen. Somewhere closer to the middle as the right and the left fly off into the extremes. And so what he did yesterday, the degree of difficulty of it, whether you agree with it or not, that's sort of irrelevant to me. A professional broadcaster who's been doing that well for 40 years, on the day he's retiring from baseball, a week before the election, is doing 10 minutes that people need to hear, because a lot of people don't make up their minds on this stuff until the last week, and that's why LeBron's out here now putting out commercials as the oldest player in the league, where you're like, is this his marketing department, or is this guy using the George Floyd voice because he knows that some people need to hear him right now a week before this election?
First of all, I think you're absolutely right about Bob. Regardless of what he said, the craftsmanship of how he said it, that was the most shocking thing, because I'm watching him go, and he's barely pausing to take a breath, let alone any sort of misspeak or
no hiccups.
miswords.
A man who covered the Olympics live. Like, this is the part that Billy and Stugotz disrespected, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to go there with them, as they say I'm trying to escalate things. No, what happened with Bob Costas yesterday, and this is the part that surprised me, he gave you his resume on things he's done, because on this show, the people don't seem to know what the resume actually is. Like, that's what surprised me about what Bob did yesterday, where he goes straight to, I've been on Conan O'Brien, I've been on Letterman.
Pootie Tang, basketball, but respectfully, we dropped the ball there. He is elite at not missing a step. We are elite at missing all the steps, because when he was rattling off the bona fides, anybody with a button should have hit look at me, Louie. That was
He was cooking, though. He was cooking.
He was cooking, but he was also
would have rattled him.
Looking at me,
Yes.
Louie.
Well, let's listen to this sound, because this is not instigated by me, and this is not me talking to Bob Costas off air. I didn't know he was going to do any of this.
The prompt was us just asking, is it a den or is it a study?
I want the sound of him going after Billy. It surprised me, and not just because in the middle of it, Fat Prince, Elton John, Austin, No Powers
no shame.
is in the middle of executive producing.
You know, by the way, I don't know who to pin this on, but one of your limited frame of reference peanut gallery guys, and the only reason I know this is because sometimes I follow you, Dan, said at one point, you know, I don't even know why he's called Bob. He's the kind of guy that really should have been, even in grade school, would have demanded that he be called Robert. This is what happens when you don't know jack shit, okay? Saturday Night Live, Letterman, Leno, Carson, Conan, basketball, Pootie Tang, The Paper.
Yes.
You know, if somebody knew as little, even if they were 20 years old, knew as little about baseball history, and then was talking about last night's game with no frame of reference, they'd be laughed out of the room. You know, laughter, that kind of thing, that humorless people supposedly have no grasp of. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Forget about Pootie Tang.
I forgot about Pootie
We'll
Tang.
never forget about basketball.
That is Billy Gill. I'm disappointed that Billy's not here. I mean, I know where the objections are, because every time, as this is the divided America we live in, every single time Bob Costas comes out every couple of months to talk about this stuff, because it's an important time in America. And even though he worked in the sports department, that guy's always been a journalist, not just a broadcast journalist. He's conducted himself with the sensibilities of somebody who has print journalism credentials, and he's one of the best to ever do it. He just got shitty retirement in baseball, because all of the people in baseball are like, it's too slow, we want it different now. So you get the shitty ending there, and he retires yesterday, but a week before the election, he comes on, and he does 10 minutes of that guy's hosted the Olympics live, and it was a pleasure to just listen to my own show. Like, listen to somebody who's just to sit here and listen to somebody who at important times in America has come out of the playpen to do journalistic things. He did a live interview with Sandusky at a time, just put him on the air at the time that we're in the middle of the biggest sports scandal in our career in our careers, and it's not top 10 things he's done in his career on television. So he's not going to get the applauded ending that he deserves, especially if he's going to get out there during political times. But whatever it is that he said yesterday that people were objecting to, because we've gotten further left and further right, He's just trying to meet people somewhere in the middle on, hey, it can't be this lunatic. Like, what we can argue about all sorts of things and split all sorts of hairs and make it about even women's rights or the rights of minorities. He's just in the middle saying, look, whatever you think of the other side, think it bad in all the ways that you want. You got to vote against this. This thing needs to be voted against. And there aren't enough people saying it now as the billionaires run for their lives because they're afraid of what's going to happen if Trump gets into power and starts punishing them. Like, you can't have everybody running scared of Trump, and he's just communicating at a time that I thought cut through it. Like, you could sit here and yell all you want about whether Kamala is center left or not. We've moved the center, man. It's obvious we've moved the center.
Billy, response?
To the Kamala stuff?
No, to Bob
Costas.
What about him? I said he had a great career. I never said he didn't have a great career. I never came after his credentials.
Then why is he doing that?
I don't know. Well, I mean, I think he knew he was retiring. I don't think it has anything to do with me.
No, you did come after one specific part of his credentials because that's what he presented. He didn't say World Series or Olympics. Who is
he saying of that person doesn't know jack shit? That's directed at someone here.
Billy.
That wasn't directed at the internet. It was directed.
He said someone in the peanut gallery. He didn't say me specifically. You threw my name out there. If I saw the clip correctly, you said that.
But who
Billy
is
Gill.
it then? If it's
could
not,
be anyone.
You did make the he should be called Robert joke, no?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that was the joke that you made.
And that's what he's pointing to. He's presenting the comedy bona fides, not like the entire bona fides. So we're not talking about his career. We're talking about his comedic career, which isn't quite as large or heralded as his sports career or his journalism career. But that's what Billy was questioning.
But he didn't play Pootie Tang. He played Bob Costas.
That's a good point. But he was doing a comedic role. He was doing a comedic version of Bob Costas, as he was on Carson.
Howdy, loyal audience. It's Mike Ryan, and we're getting down to the nitty-gritty of football season, which means you've probably enjoyed more than a few tailgates, and right by your side at that tailgate is that beautiful white can of Miller Lite. From defending your favorite team after a bad loss to obsessively checking your fantasy lineups, football fandom is bigger than just Sundays. Miller Lite knows the passion that comes with rooting for your team, like the debate that sparked in 1975. Great taste versus less filling. So what's the best thing about the original light beer? Let it be both. It is for me. Miller Lite keeps it simple. Undebatable quality with great taste and only 96 calories. It's a beer that strips away everything that you don't need and holds on to what matters most. A light beer that actually tastes like beer. And the original light beer since 1975. Make your game time taste like Miller time. Tastes great and less filling. Let it be both. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/Dan, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer.
Ladies and gentlemen, the NBA is finally back. Thank goodness. And a new season means new ways to get into the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Who's draining threes from beyond the arc? Who's crashing the boards and getting rebounds? Get behind your favorite players and the prop bets you can make on DraftKings, the home of NBA player prop. New DraftKings customers bet just $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Every point counts with the DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code DAN, that's D-A-N, for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/bball.
Don Le Batard. You getting started on the breakfast flan?
Oh, man, I've been singing a song to myself all morning long. Breakfast flan.
Stugotz.
Have you never heard the breakfast flan song?
No, hit me with it.
Okay. I wish I had some breakfast flan. Breakfast flan. Where can I find a breakfast like that?
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
Do you feel like Bob Costas or Robert that he condescended you by giving you his resume? He made you Peanut Gallery, and he's Conan, Letterman, Leno. He ticked them all off. They're all the late night shows.
No, I think it was an emotional day for him. He was retiring. That's.
What about?
If that was.
Whoa.
It's an emotional time.
It's all right. It's hard on all of us.
Okay.
Jack shit.
Look,
$5.
Look, to Bob.
No, to you.
Oh,
you
okay.
coughed
He
into
retired.
the
I didn't know.
microphone.
So look,
Get out of the pension.
if he was emotional yesterday and that's why he attacked me, that's fine. It was. Turn the other cheek. That's fine.
Okay.
I appreciate. He had a greater career than I will ever have. I acknowledge that.
In hindsight, it makes sense he didn't answer the study or den question because he was just an emotional day.
Well, now we didn't get that news, though. You guys are blaming him because I didn't ask the question.
I'll take it. That's on me. Hands up. I did that.
He did 10 minutes on Trump and started it with, well, since you asked, I didn't ask whether his career was over. I did not. He may have answered it. It's a failure of journalism on my part, is it not?
We didn't ask him, hey, how much longer you're going to do this? That's what we should ask.
Why would you ask someone that? Because that's such a rude question. Unless you have an inkling someone's going to retire, it's basically like, are you saying that I'm not good at my job? Are you saying that I'm old? Are you saying I should leave? Like, that's not how you should.
But that's what
treat
the internet
someone
was.
respectfully.
But that's what the internet was doing to him while he was calling these games.
The question we could have asked him that might have led to him is like, what'd you make of all the, the Twitter were coming after you, the criticisms of your broadcasting? I thought maybe that could have, but. It was we didn't have he went on forever about the politics stuff. I mean, he's like, all right, if you insist, and he talked for 28 minutes.
It was, yes, and a lot of people got bothered by that. Can you, Amin, as someone who was properly appreciative yesterday of the fact that we're talking to Bob Woodward, because you know all of the history of that, and you know all of the history of that as somebody who's coming to this country and learning how valuable that freedom is and how it must be protected by journalistic freedom. You had more respect for Bob Woodward being on the show than anyone here who grew up. It grew up around newspapers are responsible for a lot of the money in that room because of what it is that we have built down here. Woodward, you appreciated what was being done there, or who we were talking to there.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I didn't really think of it from the standpoint of oh, you people don't value freedom and all that. I just thought about it like me in school. We had to watch All the President's Men in history or social studies or something like that. This is one of the seminal moments in American history where the press, the fifth estate, if you will, or fourth estate, whatever estate it is. I don't know. How many states do we have? Too many estates.
It's not
50 states.
It's not the.
That's it. That's the one.
It's not.
But this brought down the president of the United States, which, Dan, you know this very well. In a lot of countries, that's absurd.
That's correct.
That a newspaper guy can
That's
write
correct.
something, or two newspaper guys can write something that would end a presidency. Unheard of in many parts of the world, many of which are democratic nations. But it happened here. And like I said, that isn't a big news story or journalism story. That is American history.
Correct, but when you say that and we don't respect American history, because this is fairly flabbergasting, and it's one of the things that I find myself fighting against right now. The Washington Post right now is under it. Think about what Amin just said about what the Washington Post once did. Toppled a president. And now look at where we are. Trump and his billionaire cronies want to topple the press so that no one can call them on anything, and so that Elon Musk can be running as currency your information system because he bought a toy for $44 billion and wants to be the most popular high school kid, more popular than Zuckerberg, as they overrule, overrun, and decimate the press.
But Dan, so this is the part where I feel like I'm taking an unpopular stance. But when I read the Jeff Bezos open letter, there's a part of me that's like, I kind of get it. I kind of get what he's saying, right? Because you're saying Trump and his cronies are trying to do it. I would argue they've already done it. We're already at a place where nobody believes anything unless it came in the form of an infographic on Instagram or a podcast clip where a bunch of people start just spewing out their theories, unresearched, uninformed, ignorant theories, have more legs than the Washington Post for many people. And that's the scary part. And like what Bezos was trying to say is, yeah, I'm trying to correct that. We're trying to get away from things that make people automatically dismiss anything that we say that is journalistic and factual and objective. So we're trying to curtail on this particular very, very high radioactivity feature, which is the, hey, vote for this person because the other guy's a moron.
I get that, and I get that you can hide your corporate business interests in any kind of noble camouflage as you allow the money to contaminate editorial. What I'm telling you that I'm longing for, and I understand it's nostalgic, is a time where you could trust your local newspaper to be a representative community voice for what it is that you think. The divided politics that we have now, many conservative people think of life in the arts and the business of journalism as being a liberal career, with good reason. I understand the many failures of the New York Times and the Washington Post, up to and including where it is they've decimated us on climate change because the media companies are also purchased by the oil. And we've done a very poor job of declaring a climate emergency right now. So I understand the business of this. But once you get into, oh, you're taking away the paper in Washington Post that did that to Watergate, and you're doing it with Bezos's help because he doesn't have the stomach for standing up to Trump and doesn't care about journalism, because why the bleep would Amazon care about journalism? The Washington Post exists for him as something that loses $77 million a year, so he doesn't have to pay taxes over there on anything he's doing with Amazon. It is a toy. It is not a journalism outfit. It's a toy that gives him power because he can say he owns the Washington Post. He doesn't care about journalism. Why would he?
I don't think he doesn't care about journalism. I do think that it's fair to say he cares about journalism up until the point where it affects him personally. But the one thing I'm going to say is, from the standpoint of Bezos, and you said he's doing this to the Washington Post that once toppled the presidency. The Washington Post toppled the presidency with objective, factual reporting, not with an op-ed piece.
That's correct.
An op-ed piece didn't knock him out,
That's correct.
Nixon out. Journalism knocked it out.
That's right.
And so he's funding the journalism side and saying, at this point right here, we don't want to do the op-ed part. Now, what Pablo said, and a lot of Jeremy said in my ear yesterday, is when you have that kind of power, oftentimes it's not just what's reported, it's also what isn't being reported, what you choose not to report. And that's the part where our minds go wild a little bit.
The more I think about this, I think I have an above average size knee. Because I think if the knee is here and the shin is here, my knee goes far. I think
Maybe you're bending it though.
I think I have a big cap. Like, if you straighten it out, I have a damn big kneecap.
Put your finger on where it's straightened out, and then,
Like I think my kneecap goes from like here to like I got a big
Everybody's
kneecap.
kneecap goes from.
Nah, mine's bigger than yours.
Have you guys ever seen like it's a portrait, but then when you zoom in, you realize it's made up of very little portraits?
How do they do that?
That's what his knee looks
All
like.
right, fine, Dan. I'll count the freckles.
You'll be here all day.
1, 2.
Watergate was easy. You should ask Woodward this question. What the hell is this part of Chris's leg?
Is that his knee or his shin?
Where does the shin start and where does the knee end?
Well,
a question as old as time.
Well, sounds like a barrel of laughs I missed yesterday, huh?
I kind of feel like the knee ends right where that dip happens, right below your knee. If you're touching your knee, you feel the kneecap.
Where your shin bone starts?
And then the shin bone starts, and it's like a shin guard. It's like this one big sheet of bone. I'm sure it doesn't look like that in real life.
I think the internet just saw my balls. The leg bone's connected to the
knee bone.
I had video in my ear being like, get your knee down. Quick.
Wait a minute. Lewis has been going for that for the first 20 minutes of the show. I've heard Lewis say 3 times, I was trying to get the balls.
I think he did, and then he panicked.
Well, because he's an idiot. Like, what? Have you guys not figured this out yet?
Also, Chris having his leg at 12 o'clock or 15
What
or whatever.
time was my leg at?
Well, where's your arm?
There go the balls again.
You need the arm.
telling you the balls are
Put the
they're
arm
there.
up, Chris. Put the
I
arm
mean, was it super
545.
important for you to cite Jeremy in your head as a source
Yeah, really
yesterday?
weird.
when
You know
were
what?
trying- 'cause
You know
no
what?
one would
You
have
know
known
what?
that.
You know what?
No, you
No,
gotta
be accurate.
Pablo said it.
I'm
Jeremy
with
said
him.
in my
I'm
head
with him.
said
No,
also.
You can't, you know what, minutes later.
He needed 2 sources. Greg Cody, major penalty, 5 minutes. It's just journalism.
It's a me maximum.
Wow.
It's a me maximum penalty. There was no reason for you to say the one comment I got from Jeremy in my ear. Now I'm doing a show just to credit Jeremy on something he said only to me that is only being repeated now because I'm stealing it. The single most inefficient way to do that.
It was nice, but
Hold on.
unnecessary.
It is the polar opposite of me maximum. Me.
Greg Cody, major penalty, 5 minutes. Me maximum. Your Honor.
So let me be clear on this. So forever, I know this. Not claiming some shit is mine, giving the credit to where the credit is due. That's me maximum, right? Because I'm about to be the most humble motherfucker in the world now because everything is my idea now. Because I don't want to be me maximum. But heaven forbid, I give credit to someone else who had a very good point. No, me maximum means I'm giving credit to people. Okay, I'm about to be humble and never credit any of y'all. Guess what? I said that Bob Costas isn't funny.
I did
How about
give you
that?
a couple lines yesterday that you didn't credit me for.
What?
No. Well, I was too humble to
Bob
credit you.
Costas isn't funny.
I didn't say, for the record, when this
No,
gets-
Billy said that.
I didn't say that.
Humility.
I said we should be honoring your career, Mr. C. Like, I'm just saying that right now.
Hey, Kevin Millar, Bro Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that is true.
That's
He is
my,
right.
no, that's my point. I made that point. Nobody else has made that point. I'm humble.
The foot bone connected to the leg bone. The leg bone's connected to the knee bone.
You want to see
The
my
knee
balls?
bone's connected to
Okay,
the-
you know
Put your
what?
knee up. Let me count your freckles.
Okay,
No.
How many freckles you got?
No, you gotta you definitely gotta get on it.
Want to see my? Put that in the club, guys.
For ruining comedy. Greg Cody, major penalty, 5 minutes. Me maximum. Major penalty, 5 minutes. High sticking.
The whole game is conduct.
Major penalty, 5 minutes. Ruining comedy.
Out for a long time.
What's the maximum number of people in hockey that can be off the ice?
Just look. You have crossed the line, man, when you're aggressively shouting after I've already told you that Lewis is an idiot for going in on freckled balls over here, threatening our audience with...
They're not actually freckled. It's weird.
Really?
It's actually only where the sun shines.
I don't
You guys-
believe that.
I mean, I don't have a lot like on my belly.
How about on your
I'm
ass?
showing you.
Let me see your belly button.
I'll show you my ass.
No, you know what? No.
I think Bob was right.
You know what? This show, what he just did...
If you notice on the inside of my arm, much less than on the outside of my arm.
Oh,
That's where
wow.
the sun is more.
Hair also. Why is that? Does sun cause hair to grow?
Does it?
You guys didn't let me get to what I wanted to get to.
Vitamin D.
Is the LeBron James postseason ad and also Feisty Tua. Now we've run out of time.
We have another segment. We're doing Feisty Tua. After Ron McGill, we are doing Feisty Tua.
Okay.
Ooh, Ron McGill today.
Yes,
Ron McGill
on a Friday. We've also got Jim Trotter as well. But I don't know what to do. Billy, you're we just got done with a segment. I think it deserved all of those penalties where Amin aggressively shouted at the YouTube audience for some reason on a Friday with just truly terrible judgment. Here, cameras, come find my balls. Like that.
At least he said it as a question. Do you want to see my balls?
Like, I mean, like, honestly.
The answer's no.
No, a firm no.
Not for everyone.
Howdy, loyal audience. It's Mike Ryan, and we're getting down to the nitty-gritty of football season, which means you've probably enjoyed more than a few tailgates, and right by your side at that tailgate is that beautiful white can of Miller Lite. From defending your favorite team after a bad loss to obsessively checking your fantasy lineups, football fandom is bigger than just Sundays. Miller Lite knows the passion that comes with rooting for your team, like the debate that sparked in 1975. Great taste versus less filling. So what's the best thing about the original light beer? Let it be both. It is for me. Miller Lite keeps it simple. undebatable quality with great taste and only 96 calories. It's a beer that strips away everything that you don't need and holds on to what matters most. A light beer that actually tastes like beer. And the original light beer since 1975. Make your game time taste like Miller Time. Tastes great and less filling. Let it be both. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/Dan, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer.